I thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I understand that it's Friday evening, and this is probably not the first place you would want to be, but I appreciate that you've decided to come here and listen to me talk for a few minutes. So, I've done this webinar before where we've talked about how to identify your ideal client. And I've kind of figured out that most business owners already know who their ideal client is. They're just having trouble reaching them. So, it may be that you keep seeing the wrong type of people responding to your emails or your messages,
Oh
or
yeah.
you see different types of people, tire kickers, people who are not really the ones who want to buy from you. And so I thought we would talk this time about why that happens. Why does it happen when you clearly know who you're talking to and the wrong people show up? And the problem there is probably with messaging. And so we'll talk about your messaging and why just knowing who your ideal client isn't enough. So by the end of this time, we'll talk about the why knowing your ideal client isn't just the what you need to know. We'll talk about how sometimes mixed messaging attracts the wrong people. We'll get into a new ideal client framework that will help you figure out that your messaging is for the right people. Um, so you've probably already done an avatar exercise where you've clarified your clients' pain points. You have refined your niche. You know that the information that you're putting out there is good information, but still you're getting price shoppers. You're getting prospects who ghost you after you try to contact them afterward, or you have to keep re-explaining your value. Um, my old ideal client framework said that you had to first identify the goals and struggles of your client. Then you had to show them or determine your own value to them, and then explore where they hang out, and then attract them with the right messaging, and then listen and refine. And that is very basic foundational information. But a lot of times, the messaging that we use just isn't enough. And we want to avoid people who coming in doing price comparisons, tire kicking, people who are just trying to figure out who you are, what your price is. And we want to attract the people who are ready to buy from you, the people who are the ones that you want to reach. And I think a lot of times in our messaging, we focus too much on our credentials. We focus too much on our philosophy. We use buzzwords from the industry that we're in, or industry language. We use long explanations that maybe are a little bit too in depth for folks that we want to reach. And that is all part of cognitive overload. So when we're trying to give information to people that is more than what they want, we're asking them to think more than they really want to think. It's not a bad thing to try to bring things down to us. A specific message, not using jargon, not using buzzwords, those types of things, really overly explaining what it is that you do. It gives people too much to think about, really. And it causes some overload in their brains. It causes them sometimes to be unsure, not sure about what it is that you do and how you help them. So we want to we want to create messaging that is clear, that specifically spells out what it is that you do within those first few seconds that someone is on your website, that spells out who you serve, What's the problem that you solve, and what is the result that you're promising? What is the result that is going to come about because of that? And if you stick to clear, concise messaging, you're not going to confuse people. You will not cause cognitive overload, and it will be something that they'll be able to understand and follow a little bit better. And the ones who don't really want to be there, you want to weed those folks out. You want to weed the people out who are not necessarily the folks you're trying to reach. So doing this, creating this more clear, concise message is the difference between attracting transactional buyers and committed clients, people who learn to trust you, people who understand that you know their problem and you know how to guide them through the process of helping them solve it. So we'll talk about three different phases here of the messaging. So there's three phases to every customer journey. And the customer journey is simply the path that your customers take as they learn about you, figure out what it is that you do, learn how you solve their problem, and then they come to the decision that, yes, I'm going to buy from this person. So the very first phase is that attraction messaging. You've got to lower the cognitive load and create some recognition in them so that when they start to hear your message, they'll be able to say, that's Istvan, that's Cam. I've heard them before. That's Joe. I've heard him before. I'm going to go back and listen to what he has to say. Not that's interesting, but he's talking about me. When he says these things, he's talking about me, and I need to listen and pay attention. So attraction messaging names the struggle clearly, uses simple language, and speaks to that internal frustration that your client has. One of the things that I used to talk about is that there are three things that your client wants, or three things that their problem brings about. One is that external problem, the external problem of, let's say, I need a truck. I just need a truck. I need a truck that's going to be able to pull my camper. All right. That's that external problem. The internal problem is, I need a truck that is going to pull my camper and is going to keep my family safe as we travel across the country going from campground to campground. So I want to make sure that this truck is going to keep my family safe. But then there's also a philosophical problem that says, I shouldn't have to work this hard to find a truck that's going to keep my family safe. I deserve a truck that's going to keep my family safe. So there are three different problems that your clients experience as they're going through this process of learning about you. And that's the external problem, their internal problem, and then that philosophical problem of what they deserve. Just simply because they feel like that's what they should have. It doesn't explain everything. It doesn't prove everything, but it does create an identification so that when those folks are learning about who you are, they recognize that you're addressing, whether they recognize that they have three different problems or not, it doesn't matter. When you start talking about these things, they're going to resonate with what you have to say. So they may not have thought, I shouldn't have to work this hard to get a truck. But when you say you deserve to have a truck that will keep your family safe, they'll say, yeah, that's me. That's me. A problem that a lot of our businesses do is we skip this part. We try to make our message clever or catchy. We talk about ourselves more than we talk about our client. And the point of attraction messaging is, you're not trying to attract someone who likes you. You're trying to attract someone who recognizes that you have a solution to the problem that they are facing. So that's what attraction messaging is. So the next phase is authority messaging. This is where you show you know what you're talking about. This is where you tell or you show your clients, your potential clients, that the product or the service that you have works, and you've helped people in the past, and they've been satisfied. They've experienced that transformation that they wanted to experience. So this is where you would use things like testimonials on your website, or even your Google business profile. A Google business, we could talk a whole other hour just on the best ways to use your Google business profile. But if you only use it for people to leave reviews of your service, your product or your service, that is going to serve you well, because it will add to the authority. It will speak to your ability to help them solve their problem. Now, the thing to think about here when you're talking about authority is you don't want to go in and say, I'm going to solve your problem for you. These are the steps, your problem solved. You don't need to worry about it at all anymore. You want to present things in a way that your potential client can see they're going to help me. They're going to show me where to go, and I'm going to be able to figure this out for myself. Because another thing that our clients a lot of times think is, I should be able to do this. I'm a smart person. I should be able to do this. But for some reason, it's just not coming to them. So they identify you as someone who can guide them along the path to solve their problem. Without this authority messaging, without showing that you are the best choice for them, you're going to be competing with other people on price, on personality, on availability, and you want the authority to separate you from the pack, from all the other noise that's out there. You want people to say, oh, now so-and-so said that he could do this, but this guy is showing me the 12 people he's already helped get through this process. And this is what they've had to say about it. So you say the real reason you're struggling isn't you, it's this strategy. And the strategy that I'm going to show you is powerful. It's going to be something that will help you solve the problem that you have. So the last phase of this customer journey is the conversion phase. This is where you are asking for the sale. And unfortunately, a lot of times we as business owners don't come out and say, I have this for sale. We leave clues. This is a program that I offer. This is something that I could do for you. Instead of saying, I have a program that costs this amount of money, and I think this would work well for you. Invite them to purchase from you. You need to provide clear steps on how they go about doing that. So your calls to action need to be clear, not clever. Clarity beats cleverness all the time. And so a clear step, a clear button that says buy now. I know that when I click on that buy now button, I'm going to go to a sales page. I know I'm going to go to a sales page. There's no question about what's going to happen. If I have a button that says get started, there's a lot of uncertainty in my brain about, if I click this button, does that mean that I've committed myself to purchasing from this person? If I click the learn more button, I'm not sure that this is what I want to learn more about. And in all honesty, that learn more stuff should have happened in the attraction and the authority phase of this whole process. So you need to make sure that your process is clear, that the outcomes are spelled out very clearly, and that the call to action is right there and easy for people to easy for people to take that next step. If you build without attraction, if you build without authority, you're going to attract late stage comparison shoppers, price sensitive buyers, people who need for you to convince them. I don't know about you, but when it comes to the sale part, I don't want to try to convince someone. I that makes me feel like kind of sleazy to convince someone that they need to buy my service. I want them to know when they get to this point that this is the person who's going to serve me best. So let's talk about an example. I want to talk about these three phases, sort of like a house. All right. So when you're walking up to a house, usually there are steps that go up to a front porch, and there's the front door. So think of the attraction marketing part of your message as the front steps. You want to create a message to the point that leads that customer to step up a step at a time, that comes through and says, okay, this is your problem. I understand what you're going through. This is my solution. This is what you will see at the end. And this is who you're going to become. And by the time they get to that point, they've gone up those 5 steps and they're now standing on your front porch. So those steps are the attraction marketing. Those steps are where you're inviting people in to learn more about you and to hear your story and to hear why you are the authority. That front porch, what do you do on a front porch? You sit in the swing and you talk with people. You wave, you um, answer questions, you get into some more in-depth conversations. So that front porch is that authority marketing. That front porch is where you talk about what you've done, who you've helped, how you've helped them. And once you get past that, then you can get into, I've helped this many people. This is why, another thing is, this is why I do this. I do this because of my own personal experiences. And then that gives the person who you're talking to on your front porch, that gives them all the information they need about you to say, yes, this is the person I want to work with. And then you get to the point where you open your front door and you invite them in. That is your conversion messaging, where you say, why don't you come on in and sit down? We'll talk about this a little bit more. I've got something I'd like to show you. Or come in for some coffee. Let's sit down and we'll talk about what I did to solve my problem. And I think it's going to work for you too. So think of your marketing, of your messaging like a house. You're inviting people up onto your front porch. You're inviting people into your business to learn more about you. You're sitting on the front porch and talking about whatever they have questions on. You're telling them that you know what you're talking about. You're building your authority. And then you invite them into your house. You invite them to come in and spend some money with you and see that what you offer will work. Unfortunately, most businesses kind of look like this. Your front porch or your steps that lead up to the front porch are broken down and they're not inviting at all. And nobody wants to step on those steps. No, people are afraid to step on those steps. And that front porch, there's no place to sit. There's nothing that is going to give me an opportunity to learn about you. And then your front door is boarded up. There's no way for anyone to get in. And that's where those clear calls to action need to come from. So what are some things that you can use, some techniques you could use in attraction messaging? Those are the messages that you put out on your website. Those are the messages you put out in your emails. Those are the messages you put out in your social media. if you send out an email, you've probably got analytics, some way to measure how your emails are working. So say your emails go out and your open rate is like non-existent. That tells you that your subject line was not attractive enough to have someone open up your message. So that tells you you need to do some work on your subject line. Okay, so your open rate is pretty good, but your click-through rate is nothing. That tells you that that message that you put in the email, the body of your email, did not do the work it was supposed to do. When someone clicks through, your click-through rate is good, but the conversion rate is nothing. When you ask and they click through to a landing page that says download my guide and nobody downloads, that tells them that that landing page, the wording, the messaging on that landing page probably isn't working. And so it makes sense to go through and look at the analytics of your emails so that you can identify where it is that folks are falling through the cracks. Okay. Your authority messaging is everything from testimonials to Google Business Reviews to when you're out in the community. This also includes anytime you go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting or a Rotary meeting or any other organizational meeting where people are going to be asking you about your business. This is where you build your authority. Next is that conversion messaging. This is where you have to have a clear plan, clear steps, clear outcomes, and you are able to talk about the stakes. What's at stake here if you don't follow through? What's at stake here if you do follow through? So I'm encouraging you, I want to encourage you to go back through, first identify what that customer journey is. How are you reaching out to people? How are you informing them about you? How are you guiding them along that path so that they can get to the conversion, that purchase at the end of their journey? Take a look at each one of those sections and identify where you might be missing some people. Look at the main head on your website. Does it answer those three questions of who do you serve? How do you do it? And what's the outcome that they'll experience? If you can't do that in that first above the fold section of your website, you're probably not going to get people to stay there long enough to scroll down and do anything else. So if you're still attracting the wrong people, it's probably not your niche. It's probably not your pricing or your experience. It's simply the sequencing of where you're talking to people about certain things. So if your message only speaks to decision-ready buyers, you need to go back and figure out, how do I start attracting people? If your messaging builds on that attraction and authority, you need to figure out who are the people that you want to attract and what's different about your business that will serve those people. I offer several different ways that we could look at this, and these are all free calls. I would love to sit down with you and take a look at your website, take a look at your emails, talk about your messaging and how it might be able to be more clear, a little bit more designed for the people that you're trying to reach. So I guess I've got a different kind of a promise, and that promise is that I want to help you not only clarify who your client is, I want you to build the messaging ecosystem that talks specifically to that person, to those people that you want to reach. So simply just, I'll put all of my contact information in the chat here. I ran through this really fast today. I was hoping to get done before Istvan had to leave. But I'd like to sort of get an idea of where you are now and where do you want to be and how can we help you get there? Where are the gaps in your messaging? Okay, so I didn't update this. I am so sorry, but my next webinar coming up on June 22nd 26th, I'm sorry, June 26th is talking about the 5 leaks that are costing you sales in your funnel. And I just want to give you a preview that your sales funnel isn't some high tech piece of technology. It's simply the path that you take people through. It's the same path, that same attraction, believability, and conversion path that you take people on. So let me stop sharing. And then I will put information in the chat about my email. And if you've got any questions right now, go ahead and ask them. There's my email. So that's how you schedule some time with me. And then that June funnel webinar, you can register for it at there at mylinkpod.site funnels. So, if you don't have any questions, that's really all that I had. I knew that Istvan was going to have to leave at the bottom of the hour, and so I kind of was going through quickly so that he wouldn't miss a whole heck of a lot. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if you've got any.
Good presentation. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you being here. Well, Cameron, I thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will send out something later that provides the YouTube link to this so you can take a look at it if you would like to at any point in the future. I want to invite you to an event that starts tomorrow and runs through the end of August 31st, called Project Abundance. It is an effort to raise funds for VAs in Africa. And right now, their electricity, their power is not something that they can assume they're going to have all the time. And so we're trying to buy them solar powered generators because gas powered generators, they can't afford the gas to run the generators. So we are holding this fundraiser, which you make any contribution that you want to. There's the link that you can get there. And tomorrow there will be 4 or 5 different keynote speeches that will be played tomorrow. But after you donate or contribute to the effort, you'll have access to 50 other keynote speeches that other people have donated to be able to be part of this project. And there are also all kinds of freebies, swag, stuff that each one of those presenters has offered to help anyone who decides to participate. So you don't have to attend tomorrow. I'm just letting you know that it kicks off tomorrow and it runs through August 31st. So you'll have the availability of all of these keynote speeches until August 31st. So there's the link in the chat if you would like to participate. And I thank you so much for being here today, and enjoy your weekend. And I hope to see you again soon.